Okay, so imagine trying to unite a faith that's been around for 2,500 years, one that's spread all over the globe and branched into, well, countless different traditions. It sounds impossible, right? Well, that's the huge, ambitious vision we're digging into today. A plan to bridge these ancient divides in Buddhism to create a really vibrant, relevant future for everyone. And that brings up a really big question for any ancient faith. I mean, when you're talking about something that's 2.5 millennia old, adapting to our super fast-paced, interconnected world, that's not just a nice idea, it's absolutely essential. So how do you evolve without losing the very core of what you are? And here's the paradox, the real catch-22. As Buddhism spread out from India, it did this amazing thing. It adapted and created this beautiful tapestry of traditions. But that very success is also what caused it to fragment, creating a faith that was incredibly rich in diversity, but often really divided in practice.
All right, so to really get a handle on the challenge here, we first need to appreciate just how diverse Buddhism became as it put down roots in new places. It's what created the incredible variety we see today.
So starting from India, Buddhism basically branched into 3 major streams. You've got the Southern transmission, Theravada, which really flourished in places like Thailand. It emphasizes the Buddha's original teachings. Then there's the Han transmission, or Mahayana, which shaped East Asia. It's all about the path of the Bodhisattva, someone who seeks enlightenment for all beings. And finally, the Tibetan transmission, Vajrayana, developed its own unique character up in the Himalayas, with some really advanced practices to speed up that path. Each one soaked up local customs, creating a faith with a whole lot of different faces.
But, all that amazing diversity, it wasn't all smooth sailing. In fact, it actually created some pretty significant hurdles for Buddhism as a global community.
This is where the influential Master Hsing Yun comes in. He really pinpointed these key issues. He saw that all this sectarianism was creating rivalry instead of cooperation. He saw this deep conservatism that made it really hard for some traditions to adapt. And all of that led to this growing disconnect from the real problems of modern life, which ultimately just weakened Buddhism's ability to speak with one powerful voice on the world stage.
And Master Hsing Yun just summed up the whole problem with this powerful metaphor. He saw Buddhism not as this solid, cohesive force, but as scattered sand. Each grain is beautiful on its own, but there's no structure to build anything strong together. So, in response to this whole house-divided problem, the master proposed this powerful, single-word solution that would really become the cornerstone of his entire life's work. And the concept is Rong-He. Now, this is not about erasing the unique traditions of, say, Thai or Tibetan or Zen Buddhism. Not at all. It's about a respectful fusion. It's a philosophy that encourages all the different schools to find common ground, to work in harmony, and to create a stronger whole while totally honoring what makes each part unique.
This is just such a brilliant way to explain Rong-He, isn't it? The rivers might come from different mountains, they take totally different paths, but once they reach the ocean, they all become one. And in the same way, all the Buddhist traditions, no matter how different their journeys, they all share that same essential taste of the Buddhist teachings.
And here's the crucial point. This isn't just some modern management strategy. The whole vision of Rong-He is deeply rooted in a core Buddhist belief, the idea of Buddha nature. It's the teaching that every single being has this built-in potential for enlightenment, for profound wisdom and compassion. And if everyone is equal on that fundamental level, then there's just no basis for saying one tradition is better than another.
Okay, so you have this profound vision of Rong-He, but how do you actually make it happen? It wasn't just a philosophy, it was a really practical roadmap for change.
He laid out the super clear 3-part plan. First, unity. Just get the different schools to respect each other and start collaborating. Simple. Second, unification. And this isn't about complex doctrines. It's about standardizing basic, visible things to create a common identity. And third, mobilization. Getting everyone to actually work together on shared projects that benefit all of society.
That second step, unification, was so smart because it was incredibly practical. It was never about forcing everyone to think the same thing. No, it was about standardizing simple external stuff. For instance, moving from all the different colored robes to a unified yellow, or adopting the respectful term fashi or dharma master for all monastics, or even just working to get a single unified date to celebrate the Buddha's birthday as a national holiday. These are small changes, but they create a huge sense of shared identity.
And listen, this wasn't just an idea on paper. This was backed by decades of action. It started with international outreach way back in the 60s, it led to hosting major global conferences in the 80s, and it resulted in these huge, historic events, like international ordinations back in India, the birthplace of Buddhism, and that landmark cooperation to bring the Buddha's finger relic to Taiwan.
And the bridge building just kept going on so many different fronts. They set up formal alliances like brother temples, linking Chinese monasteries with ancient ones in Korea and Thailand. They built an international education network, sending students to study all over the world to bring back new knowledge. And in a really historic move, they supported the revival of the full ordination lineage for nuns in Theravada countries, where it had actually been lost for centuries.
So what was all this for? All the alliances, the education, the dialogue. It was all aimed at one single ultimate goal, to forge a Buddhism that was perfect for the modern world.
And this vision all comes together in what's called Humanistic Buddhism. It's really the practical application of Ronghe. It's a Buddhism that doesn't retreat from the world into a monastery, but gets actively engaged with it, focusing on things like education, social welfare, and using that timeless wisdom to solve today's problems.
And you can kind of see why this humanistic approach was seen as the most universal path forward. The thinking was that other traditions, for all their deep wisdom, could face some real practical challenges. I mean, how does a monk doing a traditional alms round navigate a city like New York? How can really complex ritual practices be understood outside their original culture? Humanistic Buddhism tries to find that common, active, and socially engaged core that can really thrive anywhere. This statement is so powerful, it just reveals his core belief. He didn't see this as just one option among many. For him, this was the essential path for Buddhism to stay a vital, guiding light for all of humanity in the future. You know, in a world that feels more fractured than ever, this whole story is a powerful reminder of what can happen when we look for common ground. And it leaves us with a pretty big question. Can ancient wisdom be brought together, not just to save itself, but to actually help heal our modern world?